There is no one, in my opinion, who is better equipped to talk about this subject than the attorney, who also is a professor at Bentley University, Stephen J.J. Weisman, who joins us again. Stephen, it's always great to have you here on America's Forum.
The pleasure is mine, JD.
So, here it is again. People are shopping. We're worried about, I guess we call them cyber breaches. You want to give us the lowdown again on credit and debit cards and what we need to keep in mind when we go to make purchases?
Yeah, that's probably a great place to start because, in fact, the difference between using a credit card for your purchases, whether you're doing it in online shopping or in a brick and mortar store, as contrasted to a credit card, is very significant. With a credit card, you may have some inconvenience if there is a major data breach, but you really don't have much in the way of liability. A federal law limits it to $50, and even then, most banks don't hold you to that. But with a debit card, potentially, you could lose your entire bank account if you don't report it fast enough. On top of that, even if you report it in a timely fashion, the bank will freeze your account while they investigate it, which limits your access to your money as well as bills that may be coming out. So that's one thing that's important. Use that credit card. As far as data breaches go, expect it. They've already been breached. These retailers just aren't aware of it. Last July, the FBI warned retailers this was going to be coming up. And in fact, the breaches and hacks have probably already occurred. It's just that the retailers aren't aware of it yet.
So we'll find out eventually. What a promising thought that is, pal. Listen, a couple of minutes remain in this segment. I'm just kind of curious. Since today is Cyber Monday, and a whole lot of people shop on the internet, is there any greater risk shopping retail for credit fraud or the Cyber Monday thing? Are they equal in terms of risk of getting ripped off or seeing your card swiped?
You know, it's interestingly enough, I think you may have more protection shopping online on Cyber Monday or any other day because you have a little bit more protection over your security on your computer. You look for things like in the line where it has the address HTTPS. You want to see that S so that you know that your data is being encrypted. You're going to use your credit card. Don't let it stay in storage on the company. Let's say maybe you do a lot of business with Amazon or someone else. Don't leave it there because if they have a data breach, your card is lost. But if you use it for a single transaction, they don't store your credit card data, and you may actually be better off on your own shopping online at home.
Minute remains in this segment, Stephen. What should happen in terms of round two for retailers to avoid problems? Should things be put into law? What action should be taken to try and cut down on this hacking and these problems?
You know, the big thing is it's going to require government and industry to work together to share more information. And the government's got some pretty good advice. There are these programs out there that retailers need to do. They also need just better procedures in place for limiting the kind of phishing that inserts this malware, because very often employees unwittingly download it. So it's going to take a great deal more cooperation than we presently have between government and industry, but I really am hopeful that's going to happen.
Stephen J.J. Weisman, we thank you for your thoughts about shopping. When we bring you back here in mere moments, we'll talk about box office hacking. What's going on in the movie biz? Tinseltown compromise via cyberspace. That's straight ahead. Let's continue now with Stephen J.J. Weisman, the Bentley University professor, an attorney in his own right. What is going on here with these motion pictures? Was this a nationally inspired hack job from North Korea?
Yeah, I'm going to go on record as saying it really must have been. You know, we don't have it traced back to Kim Jong-un yet. However, when the movie, The Interview, was originally being planned and filmed, the North Korean media and Kim Jong-un were outraged with this, and they were very clear that they did not appreciate this and that they were going to retaliate in some fashion. The kind of sophistication of the hacking that happened at Sony and got sensitive information, as you indicated, and also released movies, some of which haven't even been released yet. So pirated versions are out there on the internet. This is something that would need to be done by a nation state or tremendously sophisticated hackers. And North Korea definitely has this capability. I would frankly even be surprised if they didn't own up to it at some point. But it does show how cyber espionage between nations, China does this to the United States all the time. And it's a real serious problem. This, I think, really just brings it to the forefront about companies being hacked by nation states, and that's being done.
Well, back in this nation, there is a topic that the highest court in the land is going to deal with, and that's so-called First Amendment free speech rights over the internet and using social media. As I understand the case that the court is hearing right now, and Stephen, with your training as an attorney, you can offer amendments to the way I'll lay this case out. But apparently the defendant in this case is saying some of the posts he put up directed at his wife were actually lyrics from Eminem, the rapper. Is reposting of an artist's words enough to charge a person with criminal intent? What happens to free speech rights on the internet with the case now before the Supreme Court?
It's a very complex one, and I am a media law professor. It's one of the things that I do teach. And what we have here is I'm always telling my students the law is always playing catch up when it comes to technology. So here, if he had made these comments to her at her face, that might have been a different thing. But here, when you put this out over the internet, it takes on a life of its own. And there's, what he wants is the law to be changed to be interpreted such that it is the subjective, the intent of the person posting this, rather than how a reasonable person would take this. Now, in this case, yes, he did take some lyrics of Eminem in which he was talking about killing his ex-wife. He also had some other violent type of communications. And so it becomes, was it reasonable for his wife to be in fear? Was this a legitimate threat? And that, I think, is left up to a jury. I don't think it's whatever the Supreme Court comes down with, and I think they're going to keep it as the objective standard, not the subjective standard. I don't think that's going to change art and communications that much. I think this is, we often say in the law, hard cases make bad law, and that's what we have here. This was someone who did put his wife in fear. The circumstances were such, it could be reasonably interpreted to be such, but I think it's not going to have a terribly chilling effect on free speech.
Fair enough. We'll leave it there. Stephen J.J. Weisman, we thank you for your insights and analysis, and when we find out what the court does, we'll probably have you back. Fair enough. And we're coming right back with more here on America's Forum.